Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi. Good evening to everybody. Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi. Good evening to all of the viewers. Today we are going to conduct an English session for the English speakers as well as for the NRIs. And today we have a very beautiful and important topic ahead. It's Indian Constitution at 75 and policy ahead. So today we have a very eminent speaker for this topic, Moon Nivasi P.S. Kamble. He is an economist and social thinker and he is from Maharashtra. So I would like to welcome our speaker today's meeting. Sir, welcome to the MNT News Network, sir. And
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First of all, very much thankful to English MNT for organizing such a very wonderful program on very relevant and very important topic. So far as topic is concerned, we are celebrating 75 years of Indian Constitution. Amrut Mahotsav we are celebrating. And to what extent we are rigorous, sincere, honest so far as implementation of Constitution and provisions in the Constitution is concerned. At the same time, what has been we have realized and achieved, and yet what it has been not we have realized and achieved that is necessary to be placed before the society. And it is high time, it is very important time that we should bring about a critical evaluation of what provisions those are there in the Constitution of India prominently from the point of view of economic and social perspective. And to what extent we have succeeded and what has been remained so far as realization from the Constitution is concerned. And when that is taken into account, naturally that will bring out with us what should be the policy forward or action which is required in the future. And therefore, we thought that this is the very current topic, relevant topic, and every person of the society, every citizen of the society should know about the Constitution and what realities and ground realities are there about the implementation on the one hand and realization and achievement on the other, and more importantly, what is necessary to be done so far as realization of whatever has been remained in the context of Indian Constitution. Yes, Bhim,
So,
over to
sir,
you.
sir, it's a very important topic for Moon Nivasis of India. And I want to know from your side that what do you think and what is the importance of Indian Constitution if you tell about this to our viewers?
Bhim, very important question you have asked, because unless and until we know what Constitution is in general and what Constitution of India is in particular, it will not be logical and it will not be scientific systematic to go ahead on the discussion on the Constitution of India that is there. Constitution in every country is the basic law, it is the fundamental law. And all laws and acts, rules and regulations depend upon the basic law or fundamental law of Constitution. So from the point of India, Indian Constitution is the fundamental law. It is the fundamental act. All acts, all laws are dependent upon the Constitution of India. Those are to be prepared, those are to be enacted, those are to be passed, and those are to be implemented in the framework of Constitution only. Therefore, we have to check any law, any act is violating Constitution. If it is violating, it is against the Constitution. Therefore, we as a citizen, we as a member of the society, learned member of the society, check whether the law is violating the principle or ethics of Constitution. That we have to check into account. We have to take into consideration, and therefore, Constitution is very important. And it is very important for the country like us because India is a very diversified society, fragmented into different stratas and different groups and different sections, and consolidating all those heterogeneous groups, all those heterogeneous strata is very difficult, and that has been done by the Constitution only. And therefore, Indian Constitution is the greatest Constitution, is the largest Constitution, is the crucial and important Constitution, not only in India but across the globe as well. And therefore, it's a very important document. It's a very important guide. It's a very important advisor to the government, to the every citizen, to part and parcel of the people, those who are staying in India. That is what, in absence of Constitution, that country is not there. In absence of Constitution, no governance and organization and management of the economy and country is there. And therefore, constitution is very important. It is very crucial. In absence of constitution, governance, management, organization is impossible only. And that is why, being a basic law, being a fundamental law, all laws, all acts are exclusively dependent upon the Constitution of India, and therefore it is very crucial, it is very important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, you are talking about the constitution and Indian constitution, and there is a one thing which comes from the constitution of every country, but we are talking about the Indian constitution. Sir, what is the role of preamble? If you tell us, you can just explain. Whenever you talk about constitution, there is a preamble. Can you just
Yes,
explain the role of the preamble, sir?
very important question you are asking. In absence of preamble, the Constitution doesn't reflect what is there in the Constitution. So preamble is the summary. Preamble is the summary of that Constitution.
Okay.
And for India, what provisions are there in the Constitution? Those have been very systematically, very briefly, very clearly, crystal clear. Those have been explained in the preamble. So preamble is the soul of the Constitution. We are not taking, or we are not using soul as the word or term which has a religious background. Religious background is not there. Soul means very important. Soul means central idea. Soul means very important. In absence of this preamble, constitution has no meaning at all. And what is there in entire constitution that has been reflected in the preamble? Just I will read out what constitution preamble is there so far as Indian constitution is concerned. Preamble of Constitution of India says, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote them among them all, fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. When we look at this preamble, very important things have been incorporated. Actually, what are the objectives and purposes and goals of India and wanted to India to realize and achieve? Those have been explained very significantly. Take example, this constitution is not of a person. This constitution is not of an individual. It is not of a family, but all the Indians, all Bhartis, all Indians. Constitution is of all Indians. More importantly, constitution endeavors to achieve sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic India. How India should be? India should be sovereign, India should be socialistic, India should be secular, India should be democratic, and India should be republic. In addition to that, this constitution should succeed in doing or making justice. And that justice comprises of social justice, economic justice, and political justice. Three types of justices have been taken into account by the Constitution, and when the implementation of Constitution takes place, naturally that will do social justice, economic justice, and political justice. This is not sufficient and adequate. In addition to this, our Constitution says liberty should be given of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. Liberty, that is freedom. Freedom should be given, and that freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of belief, freedom of faith, and freedom of worship, that should be given to every citizen, irrespective of caste, class, creed, religion. It has no importance at all. All those are immaterial. What is important is all citizen, every citizen of the country, and he or she should get liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. In addition to that, a very important point has been incorporated in the preamble of India, that there must be equality. Equality must be realized and achieved and that equality of status. Nobody will be discriminated. Nobody will be excluded based on any caste, religion, creed, or any social criteria, whatever may be that. It is not being permitted or it has not been allowed so far as when we talk about the equality in India of status and opportunity. Opportunity and to promote among them all. All this should be given to everybody, every person in India. That is what it is expected. Preamble also says there should be fraternity, brotherhood should be there. We should behave like brotherhood. We should not have any classes and disputes and tensions and unrest should not be there. That is expected, that is also desirable by the Constitution of India. And all this we are accepting on 26th November 1949. On that day, Constitution was accepted and its implementation started in India from 26th January 1950. Such a very important part of the Constitution. Therefore, it is said that soul of the Constitution is preamble. What India desires, what is expected to be realized and achieved by India, and in what direction the efforts are required so far as realization of the Indian society and Indian economy and India as a nation, all those have been very systematically, very scientifically, very crystal clear manner have been described and explained by the preamble of India, and therefore preamble BHIM is very important. Preamble is a summary, it's an abstract. It is in nutshell summary of the what India desires, what India expects, in what direction Indian economy or government has to endeavor. As the result of that, it will give justice to the Constitution. And giving justice to the Constitution means whatever there in the Constitution to be realized and achieved, and what is there: liberty, socialist, secular, democratic, republic, equality, fraternity, everything that is mentioned in the preamble that should be achieved and realized, and that is what it is expected and desirable. Therefore, preamble is very important. Preamble is very important so far as Indian Constitution is concerned. Yes, Bhim, over to you.
Sir, you have very beautifully explained the importance of Indian Constitution's preamble, and you have shared one thing that we need socially, economic, and
Political.
other things from the our Constitution. Very beautifully explained, sir. Can you just explain? You use the word social. So, what is the social aspect of Indian Constitution? You have just shared. Kindly just give some on
Okay.
that, your
In
points
this
on that.
regard, I will refer to last speech delivered by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. When Dr. B.R. Ambedkar handed over Constitution to President of India, he delivered a speech, and the speech is very famous. And in that speech, he mentioned that when Constitution was accepted on 26th November 1949, its implementation will start. When we accept a Constitution, we will get political equality. Politically, we will be equal because in Constitution provision is there: one person, one vote, one value. Whether he is or she is from rich strata or whether he is or she is from poor strata, that doesn't matter. Whether he or she belongs to upper strata or he or she belongs to poor strata, that doesn't matter. Whether he or she lives in slum or lives in bungalow, that doesn't matter. Everybody is equal, and that is reflected in the voting power, voting right which is given. Everybody can cast only one vote, and value, importance of that vote is the same. It is same for the poor, it is same for the rich, it is same for the upper caste, it is same for the deprived class. That very important is there when the implementation of the Constitution will begin. But social equality and economic equality is very difficult because that provision, like that of political equality, has not been made. Provisions are there, but realization of social equality and economic equality is very difficult. It's very cumbersome. It's very challenging. And therefore, Dr. Ambedkar said on 26 November, now we are in controversial era we are entering. On the one hand, there will be political equality, but a lot of social and economic inequality is there. And it's very challenging. It's very difficult to realize social and economic equality. And that is the biggest challenge before the government and before the Indian society and Indian people. To what extent we will succeed in realizing social equality? What is social equality? Every person in the society is equal. There is no discrimination. There is no disparity. There is no exclusion. There is no any disparity based on caste, class, religion, creed. All are equal. All are equal. And that is very difficult to realize. And economic equality means everybody is economically equal. Much inequality is not there. A little bit inequality can be there, no doubt about that. But one is from the richest strata and another is from the poorest strata. That economic inequality is not expected. Unequal, very significant unequal distribution of wealth, income, and consumption is not expected. And how to realize and achieve so that the gap and inequality between the poor and rich strata will be minimized, it will be reduced, this will be matched. That is a bigger challenge. Political provision is there. Everybody has equal right. But that provision is not applicable to social and economic inequality because that is different. It is wider. It is broader. And that is a bigger challenge before the government of India, before the Indian people, before the Indian society. And that is what the social economic inequality to overcome, to reduce, to control, to monitor, to reduce is very difficult. And that is challenge. To what extent implementers of Constitution of India succeed in realizing and achieving economic and social equality, that is a success of the Constitution of India. Political equality is inbuilt. That provision is there. One person, one vote, one value. Everybody has equal right, political right. But that equality is not applicable to the social and economic perspectives or areas or aspects. And therefore, that is big challenge. That's a big hindrance. That's a big obstacle. So far as realizing social and economic equality is concerned, that is what it is expected and desirable.
Actually, my there was one question coming in my mind. It was
Yes,
that what can be economic perspective of Indian Constitution? But you have
yes.
very beautifully explained the social aspects of Indian Constitution. Can you just give some more light? What the question I have asked? What can be economic perspective of Indian
Yes.
Constitution, sir?
Yes, it's like social, no, economic perspective is also very important. Economics perspective says there should be minimal economic inequality. Wealth should be to the greatest extent possible equally distributed. Income should be to the greatest extent possible equally distributed among the people in the society as well. Whatever resources, land is there, water is there, natural resources are there, man-made resources are there, industries are there, agriculture is there. Those should be distributed to the greatest extent possible equally among the people in the society as a whole. There should not be one is owner and one is worker. There should not be one is landlord and another is agriculture labor. There should not be one is tenant and another is landlord. This inequality is not expected and desirable. So that equality is called as economic equality. And therefore, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says, realizing and achieving along with the social equality, economic equality is very difficult. And in what direction the efforts are being made by the government or the policy makers and policy implementers, that indicates and that on that depends the success of Constitution of India. Therefore, like that political equality, social and economic equality is very important, and control, reducing, monitoring, cut down in social and political economic inequalities is of crucial importance. Those are of greater importance. Over to you, Bhim.
Very good, sir. You have just explained very beautifully how Indian Constitution is reducing the economic disparity between the people who are living in India, and how social status is very important and social equality is very important for us. Sir, I have one question that can you just explain that we are just talking about the Indian Constitution and what is happening since it has been was executed in India and accepted by the Indians. Sir, what is the present status of Indian Constitution? Can you just throw some light on that topic? Because we are just talking about the
That
Indian
is,
Constitution and
yes,
it is very necessary, sir.
that is very crucial. One point is just I will explain relating to rights, and then I will go for what is the present status of Constitution of India. Because so as to analyze and interpret present status of India, along with the preamble, it is necessary to talk in the context of fundamental rights as well.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
I will touch upon fundamental rights, and then I will try to place before you what is the present status of Constitution or implementation of Constitution of India. Just I will touch upon fundamental rights, right to equality, that is equality before law, then prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, then equality of opportunity in matters of public employment, then in fundamental right, abolition of untouchability, abolition of titles, protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, right to freedom, then in fundamental right, protection of respect of conviction and offenses, protection of life and personal liberty, right to education, protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Then there is again the right of prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor, prohibition of employment of children in factories, freedom of conscience and free profession, practice, and propagation of religion, freedom of manage religious affairs, freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion, freedom as to attendance at the religious instruction or religious workshop in certain educational institutions, protection of cultural and educational rights, protection of interest of minorities, right of minorities to establish and administer education institutions. Then there is saving of laws and providing for acquisition of estates. These are some of the fundamental rights that just I have tried to touch upon, because what ground realities are there, what is the present status of Constitution of India, that is of crucial importance. One thing is very important: when only we look at the preamble, a lot of things have been reflected and incorporated in the preamble of India. That is, India should be a socialistic state. There should be social, political, economic equality. India should be republic. India should all people should be given freedom. But when we look at the present status, and I have referred to the fundamental rights as well, we can say to the extent required and desirable, sincerity, honesty, and rigorousness is not being found. Take example, discrimination is being found. Take example, exclusion is being found in this society. More importantly, what is the extent of economic equality? Nothing is there. Latest only in 2024, World Inequality Report has been published. And that World
Yes.
Inequality Report 2024 talks about, even that report is there in from laboratory as well. And that report talks about inequality, economic inequality in India is growing very rapidly and significantly. To cite some data, 20% rich people or rich strata of the society have purchased 66% share of income of India. And 20% rich people of India have purchased 57% share of the wealth of India. 50% poor people, their share in the national income of India is only 7%.
Oh my God.
50% poor strata share in national wealth of India is only 6%. You can see what extent inequalities are there. But unfortunately, any policy, maybe budget policy, maybe trade policy, maybe agriculture policy, maybe monetary policy, maybe fiscal policy, there is no any reference of economic inequality. And what is happening? It is said that India is the fastest growing economy at this moment. Yes, it's fact. GDP growth rate of India, gross domestic product growth rate of India is about 6%, 7 per annum. On the contrary, world economy is growing at the rate of less than 3% of GDP of world. And developed countries also growing at the rate of less than 3% of their GDPs. If we make a comparison of GDP growth of India and GDP growth of developed countries and world as a whole as well, there is a mismatch of about 50%. And this is adequate proof that India is growing very rapidly and significantly. But at the same time, what is happening? Because of inequalities, whatever is income is generated in the economy, whatever wealth is generated in the economy, whatever employment opportunities are generated in the economy, those are concentrating in the hands of a few families or households.
Yes.
Therefore, inequalities are growing very rapidly and significantly. Whatever income, whatever wealth is generated, that is not being distributed equally to the greatest extent possibly, or we can say moderately equally among the people in the society as a whole, and therefore there is a mismatch. Inequalities are growing, and this inequalities is resulting in the problem of unemployment, problem of poverty, problem of malnutrition, problem of less development of human resources. All those consequent problems India has been facing, it is because of growth is taking place, but growth is not being distributed among all people or all strata of the society. There was effort directed towards how the distribution can be equal, moderately equal, but in that direction efforts are not being made. You will surprise, there is not mention of the problem of inequality as well. To some extent, attempt is made towards touching upon the problem of poverty and employment, but inequality is not referred. And inequality is intensifying problem of cut down in employment, increase in unemployment, increase in poverty, and that is very adversely affecting social welfare of the society as a whole. When wealth, income is concentrating, resources are concentrating in the hands of few people, all are deprived. Majority of the strata, majority section of the population are deprived from getting share of income, wealth, and consequently consumption, and that very adversely affects what we call it as this social welfare of the society as whole. It is therefore the present status of India, Constitution of India tells us that no sincere, honest, rigorous efforts are being made so far as implementation of the Constitution of India and provisions in the Constitution of India is there. I am of the opinion that only policymakers, politicians, ministries should refer Constitution of India and what provisions are there in the Constitution of India. Those are incorporated in the policies, in the decisions, in the development policies, and sincerely, honestly, rigorously implemented, that will serve the purpose. Indian Constitution is very rich. Indian Constitution is very larger. Indian Constitution is very important. Every answer of the question and challenge and problem is there in the Constitution of India. What is lacking? We are very much illiterate in the Constitution. We don't have much knowledge, awareness about the Indian Constitution, and same is the case of the politicians, of the policymakers, of the bureaucrats, and consequently, we are not sincere, honest, rigorous, so far as the important significance of the Constitution is concerned. Therefore, to the extent desirable and required, we have not succeeded in realizing and implementing what is there in the Constitution, maybe equality, social, economic, maybe autonomy, maybe freedom, maybe liberty, maybe rights, whatever may be that. And that has created a big challenge. So the way forward is, the course of action is, everybody should be given knowledge and education of Constitution. From the student to the policymaker, to the politicians, to the ministries, to the political parties, to the social organizations, to the non-governmental organizations, everybody, every strata of the society, every organ of the society should be given education, knowledge, and awareness of the Constitution. Every challenge and problems answer is there in the constitution. Only need is to incorporate those problems, find out those provisions in the constitution, and to be incorporated in the development policy, in the agriculture policy, in the trade policy, in the monetary policy, in the fiscal policy, in the education policy, and more importantly, all provisions incorporated in these different policies should be implemented very sincerely, honestly, rigorously. There should not be any politicization of the constitution. There should not be any use of the constitution for getting political power. That should not be there. Politicization should not be there in the constitution of India, because constitution is the supreme. It is the fundamental. It is the basic. Only thing is that we are not sincere. We are not honest. We are not rigorous about the understanding of the provision. Those are there in the constitution. And more importantly, implementation of the constitution sincerely, honestly, rigorously. Urgent need of the hour is to get equipped with the constitution, provisions in the constitution, and incorporate those provisions in the development policies and decision makers. And they should be very sincere, honest, rigorous so far as implementation is concerned. If in that direction the efforts are being made by all governments, central, state, and local as well, that will serve the purpose. Every challenge, every social, economic, environmental, political problem will be solved, because that capability, that capacity is there in the constitution. And therefore, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said, which constitution is the best? Constitution is the best or it is bad, that depends upon who is going to implement. To what extent the implementer is rigorous, sincere, honest so far as implementation of the constitution and provision in the constitution is there. If constitution is good, if constitution is best, but implementers are not good or they are bad, constitution will be bad. If implementers are good, they are best, even constitution is bad, that constitution is converted in the best constitution. In the case of India, what has happened? Our constitution is supreme, constitution is superior, constitution is very crucial, very important, very vital, but we are very much lagging behind. On the one hand, understanding the constitution, understanding provisions in the constitution, and more importantly, implementation of provisions in the constitution. Therefore, to the extent required and desirable, constitution in India didn't succeed. On the other hand, in the name of amendments, in the name of revisions and corrections, we are violating ethics, morality of the constitution. Take example, constitution says Indian economy should be a mixed economy. There should be a balance between private sector and public sector, but that is not happening. We are private sector is dominant and prominent. In addition to that, public sector also we are privatizing. I am afraid of whether India is vanishing the identity of India as a mixed economy. Indian country is having a mixed economy country. I am afraid of, because the speed and rapidity in which privatization is taking place and demoralization, deterioration, decrease in the public sector that is taking place, that is very horrible, that is very terrible, that is very, very dangerous for the social welfare and especially realization of social and economic equality and social welfare maximization. Therefore, we are responsible for illiteracy of the constitution, misunderstanding of the constitution. We failed in understanding constitution. We failed in identifying answers of the problems and challenges, social, political, environment, whatever that India has been facing. And consequently, more importantly, we have totally exclusively failed in implementing constitution and provisions in the constitution sincerely, honestly, rigorously. That is why a number of challenges like inequality, challenges like unemployment, poverty, social unrest, illiteracy, health, number of challenges and problems, poverty India has been facing. It is because of we are neglecting constitution. We are amending constitution against the ethics or morality of the constitution. And therefore, the problems and challenges like inequality, poverty, unemployment, uh, less human development, and also the starvation, these problems we are facing, malnutrition is there. These are some of the challenges we are suffering from. It is because of our illiteracy, and we are very much passive so far as understanding on the one hand and implementation of the constitution on the other. And the end result is whatever the present India has been facing, the challenges and problems, the end result or outcome is our illiteracy and our failure and lack of sincerity, honesty, rigorousness in the implementation. That is what the ground realities are there so far as the present status of implementation and realization and achievement of the success of Indian Constitution is concerned. Over to you, Bhim.
Sir, it has been more than almost 75 years, and still we are facing the inequality of social inequality, economic inequality, and political inequality. It means it is not the failure of the constitution, is the failure of the people who are implementing the Indian constitution. Very
Yes,
well
yes,
said, sir. Very well said. You are correct. You are correct, sir. And sir, last but not the least, I have one question in my mind.
yes.
Can you just
Got it.
explain, sir? You have just shared all of the context of the Indian Constitution. Then, what is the future course of action and policy ahead? Can you just explain this, sir?
Yes, very, very important question, Bhim, you are asking. It's very necessary to answer and elaborate and explain answer of this question. Because first of all, unless and until we are taking constitution seriously, sincerely, further challenges, problems, difficulties we cannot overcome. So the fundamental, the precondition is that we should take Indian constitution very sincerely, honestly, rigorously. Every citizen of India should be constitution literate. He should know, she should know what is there in the constitution, what is preamble, what are fundamental rights, what are duties, what is role and responsibilities of, what are the functions and duties of government of India, what are the duties and responsibilities of state governments, what role is expected to be played by the local governments. Everybody should know. More importantly, politicians, more importantly, ministries, more importantly, bureaucrats, they should know what is there in the constitution. And when they will be literate, not only literate, but the provisions in the constitution, in accordance with the socio-economic challenges India has been facing, are incorporated in the different policies. Take example, economic development policy of India. Take example, agriculture development policy of India. Take example, monetary policy of India. Take example, fiscal policy of India. Take example, international trade policy of India. In different policies which are being formulated in India and effort or are endeavored to implement in India, all those should be incorporated with the provisions in the Constitution of India. And Constitution is very rich. It's very important. Everything is there in the Constitution. Answer, solution, and policy of every challenge and problem is there in the Constitution of India. So, first of all, we should be constitution literate. Then, all those who are stakeholders playing a role in policy formulation and implementation and realizing the goals of social welfare, socialistic pattern like that, or tackling the problems of inequality, poverty, and employment, they should prepare policies based on the provisions in the Constitution of India. What provision is there about the economic equality? What provision is there about the social equality? Everything is there in the Constitution.
Yes, sir.
Only our failure, our passiveness to understand and to incorporate those provisions so that those challenges can be overcome, those problems can be solved. That is our failure, our passiveness. So, henceforth, that passiveness should not be there. We should discard that, we should vanish that passiveness, and we should be active so that we can incorporate provisions in the Constitution in formulating, in framing the development policies of India. When those will be incorporated and implemented, sincerely, honestly, rigorously, I am damn sure whatever challenges those are there relating to inequality, relating to poverty, relating to employment, relating to unemployment, relating to less human development, relating to starvation, relating to malnutrition, definitely that will be tackled. Only thing is that every citizen of the India should accept constitution very sincerely, honestly, rigorously. There should not be any discrimination. There should not be any exclusion. There should not be any social basis like class, creed, religion, so far as discrimination is concerned. If in that direction the efforts are made, and I am of the opinion that politicians, ministries, bureaucrats should be given education, training, and awareness about the Constitution. Constitution is very important. In the framework of Constitution, every decision should be taken. In the framework of Constitution, every policy should be prepared. In the framework of a Constitution, very sincerely, honest, rigorously, policy should be implemented. And one precaution is necessary to be taken while making amendments in the Constitution. Government should take a precaution. What amendment we want to make is violating the spirit or morality of the Constitution. That precaution is necessary to be taken because we are privatizing the economy, we are privatizing the public sector, and that is creating number of problems like inequality. That is creating problem of employment generation. That is creating problem of inequality, problem of poverty. So while bringing about amendment, morality of the constitution will not be discarded, will not be hampered, will not be in danger. That precaution is necessary to be taken. If in this direction efforts will be made to understand constitution, to take into constitutional provisions, to incorporate them in policies and decisions, and to implement them with sincerity, honest, rigorously, I am damn sure every challenge, every problem will be solved, socio-economic challenges will be tackled, and social welfare maximization will be realized and achieved. Only need of the hour is efforts and attempts in this direction are required of the government, of the political parties, of the ministries, of the bureaucrats, of the citizens, of the teachers, of the students. Every strata, every stakeholder of the society should endeavor and behave in this direction. That is expected and desirable. That is wanted urgently and required.
You have very beautifully explained, sir, to get rid of social inequality, political inequality, and economic inequality. Every Indian people, Indian must know the Constitution of India, and it is our duty to make people constitutionally literate. It's a responsibility, and I think we have just started a program of BS4 door to door for that to make people literate about the Indian Constitution. Sir, you have very well explained the importance of Indian Constitution. What is the preamble, social aspect of Indian Constitution, economic perspective, present status of Indian Constitution, and beautifully explained future course of action ahead. Sir, we are running out of time, but still we want some conclusion from your side which would be very helpful for our viewers.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Please, sir, give.
First of all, without constitution, no any document is necessary to be taken into account. It is only constitution because it is the fundamental law, fundamental act. And every act, whatever is enacted, we have to check in the framework of constitution. If we want to bring about labor reforms, if we want to bring about privatization, check whether it violates morality of the constitution. So we should check every decision, every policy in the framework of constitution only, because constitution is very rich. So far as variety of provisions those are there, as amendment provisions there in the constitution, that doesn't mean that we have to make lot of amendments and that violates spirit and morality of the constitution. This should not happen. And when we study, we get equipped with we understand constitution and constitutional provisions, and those are incorporated, definitely that will serve the purpose. Every citizen of India will be happy. His or her welfare will be promoted and maximized. So what is required. Basis of any decision making, basis of any policy making and implementation is the Constitution of India. No any document is required to be referred. No any religious book to be required to be referred. Only Constitution is sufficient and adequate. What is required is understand, implement provisions, and be honest, rigorous, sincere. No any politicization should be there. No any wasted interest should be there so far as implementation of the Constitution is concerned. If in that direction the efforts are made, it is easier, it is simpler to tackle all challenges and problems, social, political, economic, environmental, cultural, educational, health, whatever may be that, those can be tackled and those can be solved. This is what it is required so far as my conclusion of today's lecture or today's talk is concerned.
Thank you so much from the MNT News Network. You have given a very important knowledge for our viewers, and I would like to thank sir. You had time for us, and now it's time to over this meeting. And thank you so much, and thank you from the MNT News Network from our side. Thank you so much. It's very
Thank you
great
very
to
much.
talk to you, sir. Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you, my
जय
pleasure.
भीम, जय मूल निवासी, जय भारत, जय संविधान, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jai Samvidan. Thank you very much. Jai Bharat. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.